Okay, this is a special video for the C whole tone, and the whole tones and the whole half tones and the half whole tones don't necessarily every time line directly up to the cage system, so we're going to discuss this. Up at the very top, we see the letter names of C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, B flat, C. No A note. We look in between the letter names and the simple names of the interval numbers. We see whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step. Pure whole tones, 6 whole steps, an octave. There's your ruler. We look at the numbers of 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, sharp 5, flat 7, and 1. That means those guys are not going to line directly up like they did before. On this page, I'm only going to show you really 2 scale fingerings because they're equal interval. They're the same thing. It's like a square. It's the same on all sides. Now, there are other fingerings, but we're not going to discuss those. We're only going to deal with these 2. So we look at the first one. We see the letter names of E, F sharp, G sharp, B flat, C, D, E, F sharp. We see that on the far left. On the far right, we see the chord with a G sharp on the 4th fret of that 6th string. So I've had to alter that chord form to meet the chord formula that is necessary to grab that sharp 5. About this scale fingering, if we go back to, let's just take a look at the letter names, we see 3 notes on the 6th string, 2 on the 5th, 3 on the 4th, 2 on the 3rd, 2 on the 2nd, and 3 on the 1st string. And this one lines directly up and starts at 3 like the rest of them. Let's listen to this. It'll sound a bit like a scary movie here. Okay, I'm not going to do any fancy edits. I'm just going to scroll this. We look at the next scale shape, and we look over on the far right, and far left, excuse me, we see the F sharp, G sharp, and then the interval numbers on the next diagram of sharp 4, sharp 5. So these guys don't sit directly on 4, 5, and we have no 6 to begin with. When you see this shape, it shows 2 notes on the 6th string, 3 on the 5th, 2 on the 4th string. You go back a fret, there are 2 on the 3rd string, 3 on the 2nd, and 2 on the 1st string. We move over to the interval numbers, and we see all of the interval numbers lining directly up, but this is the one that would not sit over the cage system. And we look on the far right, and instead of a chord, I see a C note and then a G sharp, a root and a sharp 5. And the fret numbers are to the left, to the right of the diagrams. I'm going to scroll again. We look at the next scale fingering starting from the G sharp or the sharp 5, and hey, it's the same fingering. There's no difference in the shape. The interval numbers and letter names are in the correct order, and on the far right, the chord now does have the roots in the 5th and 3rd strings, and again, I've raised the G to a G sharp in order to line directly up to it. I'm going to scroll again, and looky here, we see the same shape once again. And the interval numbers now are in the exact same order. It's just that we're starting from flat 7 this time. About the chord on the right, this is called a wide interval 4-note voicing, and I use the 4-note voicings in chords and in arpeggios, and it's really truly what interlock is based on, is being able to see the 4-note voicings and then fill in chromatically. And this one has an E to a C in the middle of it. That's an interval of a minor 6th. So this is called a wide voicing. So we go down to the next scale fingering, and we see this shape is like the one we had in the open string positions. It has 3 notes in the 6th, 2 on the 5th, 3 on the 4th, 2 on the 3rd, 2 on the 2nd, and 3 on the 1st. And we look off to the right, and this one is another one that doesn't sit directly over the cage system. So the C note is the 6th string, and the G sharp is on the 2nd string, a fret higher. We scroll down, and we see the exact same scale fingering. But this one's starting from C, and it sits directly on top of the bar chord. Everybody, recognizes that root on the 6th string is a big issue. We go down to the last one, and we see this, there's the second to last, the same scale fingering. And we look at the numbers onto the diagram, and we see 2, 3, sharp 4, sharp 5, and we have 3 on the 6th string, 2 on the 5th, 3 on the 4th, 2 on the 3rd, 2 on the 2nd. And we look at the chord on the right, and again, I've raised the G to a G sharp. Now the next scale shape is the same thing. 3 notes on the sixth, 2 on the fifth, 3 on the fourth, 2 on the third, 2 on the second. And this one, the roots are on the fifth and second string, and it does line up to 3, so it does sit right on the cage system. And we look down at the bottom, and that's it. There's no more shapes. We don't have an A note. So what has happened is we started from 3, 2, 1, flat 7, twice, sharp 5, sharp 4, and then 3 in the open position, and only 2 scale shapes.